Welcome, Paula. Thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed to share your personal accounts and experience of nursing informatics development, implementation and evaluation. I'm going to ask you a few questions and we'd love to hear your answers. Can you briefly describe the journey that you have had in informatics?
Yep, thank you, Heather, and thank you for this opportunity to give some pointers of my career, I suppose. To briefly describe the issues and the journey I've had in informatics. Well, it started back in 1979, when obviously I was 3 years old, and because I can't be the age I believe I am now. And so I was a night sister down at the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, and they were implementing a computer system for nursing. And they are one of 3 in the UK. There was one in Birmingham at the Queen's. I can't remember the full title, but Queen's. One in Dundee, and the Exeter one. And we were all 3 of us developing nursing systems with add-ons. And in Exeter, the add-on was a GP system. And they wanted somebody to implement this system. And I'd always been keen on finding out how things work. So this seemed an ideal opportunity to me to find out how computers work. So I applied for the job and I was offered the post and accepted. And then my journey really started from there on in. Having implemented the system across the full district general hospital was a learning curve, pretty much vertical in its aspirations. But the thing about it was that I learned so much about people, not just about the technology, because I learned about how people value their roles and how they use their roles and how they feel stable in their roles or not. Because I was absolutely terrified, being a very young person at that time, of the mature ward sisters who seemed to know what they were doing and very much in control, and went generally to the younger ward sisters to start. And that wasn't the right thing to do because they were still learning their jobs. The more mature ward sisters took to the computer system like ducks to water and just took it on their own values, managed it well, supported their staff. And one lesson I learned about people was go to the people who know what they're doing first, and then work on the others who are still on their own learning curve. So I think that's the main thing I've learned throughout my entire journey in various different disciplines of informatics, from education through administration through clinical practice.
Okay.
So I think that's how I'd answer that.
That's really interesting. I think I can recognise some of those issues you've highlighted. So what areas of informatics have you actually worked in over your career? So you started introducing nursing systems, and you've mentioned education. But so what have been the main areas?
Well, you name it, and I've probably been in it somewhere. I'm sort of an information futurist in the way I look at things. And I think now that would be a good idea, or this would be a good idea. So there's been various areas that I've dealt with. Exeter was obviously my first entry point. And then I went to teach in London, and the Commodore 64 was the computer of choice at the time. So I wrote some little programs of blood grouping and things for that. And then I moved to Sheffield to the English National Board for Nursing, Midwifery and Health Visiting, to their Learning Resources Unit, and developed what became the English National Board's Computer Assisted Learning Project in 1988, where I used a network called the Times Network to deliver training and receive responses from nurse teachers across the country who we were trying to encourage to use technology. And this is way before the internet, and life would be so easy now. But they used to come to us for 3 days, learn how to turn the computer on and off, and we used BBC Masters, and then go back and use the Times network to receive more instruction and to respond. And we had about nearly 800 nurse educators go through that. And the idea was they would then inform others. But following on from that, I did a number of other things. I've written them down here, so just in case I couldn't remember. But other things like I developed a college management information system on 9 sites across South Yorkshire. And that had all the details, all the resources, all the staff, all the curriculum, and it all sort of went into one box and came out the other end and kept us all informed of everything that was going on. So I've done the administration side, and I was head of information at that time for the North Trent College. And then other things I've done for the University of Sheffield as we entered in 1995. I put forward a proposal which was accepted to form the first Computers in Teaching Initiative Centre for Nursing Midwifery in higher education. And we did that for 5 years and then passed that on to somebody else. And that was really exciting, innovative, and I met some wonderful people with some wonderful ideas during that. And then we did in 1999, I developed a thing called the Action Project, which was using digital television, again, before digital television really happened, to help people and support people in their own homes who were caring for their relatives or friends and trying to keep them out of hospitals, so support them through visual media. And the thing that hit me about that was one of our participants said that what it had done for her, because although she had the telephone, the actual ability to see people, what that meant was it brought a reality to it, not just the hearing. And we got 3.3 million euros from Europe to develop that project. And then Singapore did another little project there called e-evidence, which was about supporting nurses by feeding them with information that matched their professional profile, so they didn't have to go and look for the latest articles and things. Then sort of so back to education, then away from practice. Systems of e-care was something I developed in 2009, which is a 3-year program supporting students in understanding what's happening in the technology world and the digital world. And that led eventually to our development of an MSc in healthcare and data analytics and AI, which was supported by the Office for Students to the tune of about £900,000, which again is focused upon people who understand healthcare but want to venture into this world of informatics. So a variety of things. I don't like to stay in one place for too long in case people find out things.
Well, you've certainly had a varied career, and I think some of your earlier work sounds like it's very much the foundation of what we're using now. So that's exciting. Thinking about people, what are there any people that have particularly inspired you, or people that have travelled with you, or people that you think you have inspired?
Well, I'm very much a people person. Technology, frankly, can look after itself. It's how we as people want to use it. And I have some people in mind in answer to this particular question. And perhaps the first one is the person who believed in me in Exeter, because there I was, just a night sister on the surgical unit, and she accepted what I was doing. That was Jean Jarvis, who was the director of nursing there. And following on from her, David Jones, who never really understood the technology. He was the chief executive officer of the English National Board, but he understood information and he understood where we were trying to take things with information. And then I have a huge list of other people that include people like Catherine Hanna, Diane Skeeber, Michelle Honey, and Graham Wright was also somebody who really sort of helped me and helped me understand things. And Helen Betts and Peter Murray, of course. And more recently, Marissa Wilson, Dr. Marissa Wilson, the University of Maryland and now Alabama, she and I got tuned in to all sorts of things like social determinants and the like. So I think those people have all influenced me, and many, many more that I'm sorry I don't have time to mention, and probably don't remember their names because I'm old now. So it's difficult. I don't know whether I've influenced anybody. I would like to believe that I have, but I have no evidence really to follow that.
Okay. And I know some of those names, and I think they would be on my list as well. So what would you say was the biggest challenge you faced in your informatics journey?
I think difficult question this, and I looked at this question when you very kindly sent them round, and I thought, that's going to be an interesting one. I think that the most difficult thing was to try and explain things in ways that people I don't mean understand, but would tolerate. Because some people get hooked on the technology and all they see is the technology. And those are not the people I want to talk with. I want to talk to the people who are trying to find a solution to something that they've found to be a problem. And that is in the way they work. And I think we haven't yet really reached that yet. We believe now that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to be the great silver bullet. Well, it's not. And we've got to realize that. So I'm not keen on the technology side, but I do find it helpful and I do find it rewarding to think about how people can be served. And one area that I'm looking at the moment is a thing called robot avatars, which is where you have maybe somebody who's severely disabled, who would never think that they could be part of a workforce or part of a team. And yet, with the robot avatars, they can. Even if they can only move their finger that much, they can operate this robot. The work that I've been looking at is that in Japan with the cafes, and I'm sure you've probably seen this yourself. And it's that drives me. It's that finding solution to a problem rather than saying, well, we've got this technology, what can we do with it?
Right.
That's not for me the way round.
That's like a solution looking for a problem, isn't it, really?
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, I think you've probably mentioned a few, but what do you think has been the most rewarding aspect of your informatics work?
Again, the people I've had the great opportunity to meet. Before the COVID thing, obviously, we were able to network at conferences, and that's been a marvelous experience just to hear other people's ideas and to talk with other people to generate more ideas. And it's a people thing, as I said right at the beginning for me. It always has been. And it's driven by information, it's not driven by technology. And I think that's a failing that a lot of us have made in the past, thinking that technology is going to solve things. It isn't. So for me, the most rewarding has been the people I've met, the ideas I've been able to have and generate with others.
That's great. And just one more question. What advice would you give future generations of nurse informaticians?
I think be grounded. I think it's and stand up for nursing. I've looked at a number of committee lists recently of big, committees that have made major decisions, and there aren't any nurses represented there. So I think for nurse informaticians, we need to have a voice on those committees, because at the end of the day, whatever rank we are in nursing, we are still those that are closest to the patient. And therefore, we must take the patient's views forward and make sure that whatever technology is developed or whatever information is shared is based upon their need, not the fact we have a system. We look at most of the computer systems that we're lumbered with at the moment, and I use the word cautiously, lumbered, is they've mechanized processes. So all we've done is we've said, this is what we did on a form, we want that on the computer screen. And that's what we've got. it needs to transition now, so the future, the next generation of nurse informaticians must take it forward to make that much slicker. You look at Amazon and you see how they harvest information. Where are we harvesting information as nurses to help us provide a true healthcare service rather than illness service? And just where are we doing things not just to record stuff, but to analyze the data that's in there to inform us of future things? So my thing is the next generation must now concentrate on the information flows and the needs for patients and the needs for population, so that that can inform us of what we need to deliver in the future. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does make sense. It's making sure that nurses can speak up for the importance of that data and what it can do for patients. And I think I've really enjoyed interviewing you, Paula, and I know that our viewers will enjoy listening to that. So can I thank you very much indeed for your time? Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, for the opportunity.